People in the metropolitan area have paid a steep price for cleaning up pollution in Boston Harbor, but they're also getting a return on water quality. And that especially goes for the state of local beaches. To bring us up to date on what's in the new report from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay is the group's Director of Strategy, Communications and Programs, Bruce Berman. Thank you very much for being with us again, Bruce.
Nice to be here. It's always nice to be here, Chris.
First of all, we're going to talk about the urban beaches, which once maybe used to be a contradiction in terms, but how good are they?
So we define an urban beach as a beach that's where water quality is largely affected by stormwater that passes through an urban environment. So, every city has them. And in the urban beaches, we're the most degraded beaches in the nation. And Boston's beaches were at the bottom of the list. Just less than on Memorial Day weekend, Save the Harbor released the results of a national study that compared the quality, water quality in South Boston's beaches, M Street, City Point, and M Street and Carson Beach, to other urban beaches in New York, Virginia, Miami, California, and Hawaii. And I am really happy to report that we beat them all, hands down. It was a dry year last year, so that helped a little bit, but the 3-year average for the South Boston beaches beat Coney Island, Virginia Beach, Virginia, South Beach in Miami, Santa Monica Beach in California, and Waikiki. And last year, it was a perfect 100%. As a former BU professor, I will tell you, it's really hard to beat a grade of 100%.
Now, the short version of this is that the water quality got better because we had this treatment plant out in Deer Island, but there's more to it than that, especially if you're talking about the quality in places like in South Boston. How'd that happen? How it got better?
On a macro level, it was the Deer Island sewage treatment plant and the Mass Bay outfall pipe that really sort of improved the quality of the water in the harbor and the bay till the point where it's now, healthy. It's a vibrant, diverse, active ecosystem. People are catching healthy flounder and big striped bass. It's a great place to play and to work and to just relax. But on each beach, there are different challenges that affect local water quality. So in South Boston, we had combined sewer overflows and storm drains that would close that beach after almost any storm. And so we fixed the problem. It was expensive. It cost about $180 million. But when we cut the ribbon on that, I think you were there.
I do remember that, yes.
In 2011, we cut the ribbon on it. I predicted, and I was afraid I was going to be wrong because I don't like to be wrong, because we spent a lot of money. I predicted that it would make the beaches the cleanest urban beaches in the nation because it severed the connection between these stormwater pipes and the water, and there's no discharge unless there's a 10-year or a 100-year storm. Storms that would likely close the city, close the T, flood the roads, and wash everything into the water.
You have indicators about water quality, these flags near the beaches,
right,
and there's been an attempt to make those more reliable. How are we doing with that?
Well, we're in a sort of a perverse situation with the flags. The fundamental problem we can't change, at least right now. It takes 24 hours for the results of a test to be posted. And what that means is that they're nearly always wrong when there's a red flag on the beach. The blue flags are almost always right. We have so many blue flags on most of our beaches, overwhelming. Maybe there'll be 1 or 2 or 3 red flags in the summer. And they fly that flag, but they fly it the day after the water was dirty, and it's nearly never dirty 2 days in a row. So, this is a big problem on a beach that's not that clean. So at Kings Beach in Lynn and Swampscott, about 300 yards from our governor's house, or at Tinian Beach in Dorchester, it can be a problem, not knowing. As a general rule, everywhere else, we made an adjustment. The adjustment was that unless there's back-to-back bad days, we're not going to fly a red flag. Because when we get it up, we know it's wrong. Now, would it be good if there was a quicker test? Of course. But what would be really good? No need for red flags at all. And that's what we did in South Boston. And that's nearly what we've done in East Boston and in Nahant and in Nantasket and in Revere and on the state beaches in Winthrop. So we've made huge strides, but we still have some work to do.
Compared with the rest of Boston, the beaches in Dorchester are not quite as good. Anything you see happening to inch that up?
Well, first I want to just be clear that Savin Hill and Malibu Beach are great beaches. And like 90-something% beaches every year, dry or wet. Tinian had a really good year last year. It beat Savin Hill and Malibu because it was a dry year. On a wet year, Tinian would be a 60% beach. So our first focus at Save the Harbor, Save the Bay for water quality this year and going forward is going to be Tinian and Dorchester and of course Kings Beach in Lynn and Swampscott. We think that we can do what we did in Southie, although maybe not quite as dramatically and quite as quickly. We're certain we can solve the problem in Lynn and Swampscott.
Well, you have two aims about the beaches. One is to get more people out there to take advantage of them, and the other is to make sure those beaches are maintained well. So talk about the programs to do those things.
Well, so, you know, a couple of years ago, Save the Harbor was privileged to be asked by the legislature and DCR to oversee a commission, Metropolitan Beaches Commission, to take a look at the beaches, assess what the challenges were, and try to inform the legislature and the executive branch about what steps we might take. That usually means money. We found for fairly short money, remembering that we spent $5 billion cleaning up the water, for a couple $1 million more a year that DCR could have the resources, think dump trucks and equipment that they needed, and the staff and personnel they needed to do the job that we expected them to do on the beach. But we also, the commission also found that, that one thing that really matters is connecting the community, families and kids, to the beach in a meaningful way, so that they develop the kind of love for the beach that I know, frankly, that you have, and that I have as well. And so they'll take care of it and carry on where we're going to stop, and eventually, although I hope it's not for many years, we will be stopping. I will be stopping. And so what we've done is we've developed a strategy, and it's a silly but very effective strategy. In the wintertime, we jump in the water and freeze our, I think I can say this, we freeze our fannies off to raise money at a pledge fundraiser called the Harpoon Helps Cupid Splash. Biggest fundraiser gets JetBlue flight, thanks to our partners at JetBlue. And we raised $40,000 this year to give away to fund really cool stuff on the beach, you know, events in the summer, programs. This year, the legislature and DCR invested additional funds besides the 40 that we raised. And on Saturday, we gave away $200,000 to fund, let's see, 35 organizations running about 70 events in 9 communities from now until later in the fall. And there's some really cool events.
What about the different ways to get the public engaged with the beaches? Because, you know, back when the harbor cleanup started, I certainly didn't foresee the amount of bicycle traffic you'd have along, you know, Ponset River, Dorchester Bay, South Boston, and now it looks like you got to work this in because it's happening.
Right. I mean, our strategy is a nice sunny day over 80 degrees, and that provides a sort of an impetus for not just people that don't have other options, but for everybody. Jump on the Blue Line, go to Constitution Beach or to Revere. You know, just take a stroll in many of the city's waterfront neighborhoods. Our strategy is to show people that they have a great beach and to let local communities sort of figure out the best way to do that. This summer, there's going to be illuminations in Hull, and there's going to be sand sculptures, not just in Revere, but the Revere crowd is going to be doing 2 sand sculptures, one on the North Shore, one on the South Shore, as a gift and promotion for their great sand sculpting competition. There's going to be family reading nights. There's going to be free swimming lessons, free soccer clinics, and free kayak rentals at Carson Beach for youth groups this summer. A dream that we'd always had that, you know, I was lucky enough to be able to learn to swim at a YMCA camp. A lot of people can't afford to do that. The YMCA is offering a free program for youth and teens for organizations, and we're proud to be a part of it.
Another thing I picked up over the years with beaches is the benefit of just walking by it, and it is part of urban life. You see all these different kinds of people doing something, and there are more of them than there were 30 years ago. Is that important?
It is. I think that you know, you can, in my business in the nonprofit world, people are always asking us to measure the impacts of what we do. And of course, my answer is, how can you put a value on the smile on a child's face? But realistically, it drives investment, it drives real estate value, and it improves the quality of life that is so important if you and I are going to enjoy our lives and if we're going to retain and attract young talent to stay in our area and feed this growing economy.
Finally, if people want some more information about what's coming up, you've got the website.
You can go to www.savetheharbor.org, or you can follow us, Save the Harbor, on Facebook or Twitter. Go to our Youth and Beach Program blog, Sea, Sand, and Sky. We're pretty easy to find.
Thank you very much for being with us again. Bruce Berman from Save the Harbor, Save the Bay.